Any letting agent will take your money, but you only find out if they're a good letting agent when you really need them. And that's frustrating because all letting agents will of course want you to think they're a good letting agent. They'll of course want to win your business so that you can pay them for their services. That's how business works. But I've said this before, but it's like insurance. Nobody wants to pay insurance. And you only need insurance when you really need insurance. But we still don't like paying for it because we feel like we're not really getting anything for it until we really need it. That's when we're relieved that we've been paying for our insurances. And it's the same with letting agents. Nobody wants to pay a letting agent because you don't really feel that you're getting anything. But I would always make the argument that a good letting agent is the one that you very rarely hear from because they've got everything tied up, everything's working, everything's operated and compliant and smooth and seamless and efficient and everything is done. Those are the good letting agents. But weirdly, that's detrimental to a letting agent and to a landlord because if you never hear from your letting agent, regardless of if everything's going okay or not, then you start to get that feeling you're not getting anything for your money. All you see is your monthly statement come through and it says, I've received £1,000 of rent, I've paid £100 to the letting agent and I've got 900 left. So all you see is that £100 a month going to the letting agent and you feel that you're not getting anything for it. Now, of course, that's the wrong way to think about it. And I think that a lot of landlords know that. Like I said just now, actually, the best letting agents are probably the ones that you never really hear from because they're just getting on with the management of your property and the tenancy and looking after you as a landlord. But it's not quite enough, is it? I go back to the insurances. Now, if you've got a nice car, you're going to want to make sure that you've got the right insurance policy in place to cover that car if anything should happen. You still hate paying it, even though you know it's the right insurance policy for your car, and it's the one that makes you most comfortable knowing that you've got the right insurance policy, but you still hate paying it. Nobody likes paying insurance. I've been paying insurance for 25 years. I still hate paying insurance. Nobody likes paying insurance. And it's the same with letting agents. Now, I remember back when I was a kid and my first ever car was a Ford Fiesta. It was a B-Reg burgundy Ford Fiesta. Fantastic little car. And just to be able to drive, I got the cheapest car insurance policy I could possibly find. The absolute cheapest. Third party only. And you'll know what I mean by that if you've got car insurance yourself. Third party only. The cheapest thing that I could possibly get just so that I could tick that box and I could go off and drive. Now, I think that car probably cost about 100 quid. So... But what if I'd have had an accident? And this is back in that car, that £100 car. What if I'd have had an accident and I'd have caused serious damage, not just to my car, but to me? Or I had to go through legal processes because I'd hit someone or something. You get my point. Well, my insurance wouldn't have covered it and I'd have been screwed. Now, luckily, I didn't have an accident, but if I had have, it probably would have been quite serious. Now I've got a nice car and I made sure that I didn't just take out some cheap crap insurance policy. I searched the insurance policies to make sure that everything was covered, that there was enough coverage in order for me to have this car safely and securely. And it's probably the same for you. I don't know if anybody else had that cheap old banger when you were a kid and you just got any old insurance just to have it done. I didn't even know what the insurance was all about, really. I just thought, all right, I've got to have it, so I'll get the cheapest I can possibly get. But if you've got a nice car now, would you insure that car third party only? No, you definitely wouldn't. You want fully comprehensive. And it's the same with letting agents. If you've got a property investment or you've inherited a property from your parents or you've moved out of a property but kept it and let it out as an investment. In one way, shape or form, it's an investment, so you've made that decision to keep it as an investment. Why would you have the cheapest possible agent managing your most valuable asset? You just wouldn't do it. And look, of course, there are some people in the world that have that mentality of it's got to be as cheap as chips, cheapest ever. It's just not the right way to do it. You know, everybody knows the rules. You buy cheap, you buy twice. And I guess the reason I wanted to share this with you, these thoughts with you, is because if you're looking for a letting agent, stop looking at the price. Look at the value that letting agent is going to be able to provide to you. How many properties do they manage? What does the owner do? Is the owner a landlord himself or herself? Is the landlord a property investor themselves? Are they experienced in lettings? How long have they been doing it? What training do they put their staff through? All of these things are vital. Ignore the price. Most letting agents are 10 and 15% of the monthly rent, depending on what type of service you take from them. But anything less than that, I would start questioning where they are reducing their service to you, or where else they're making their money from you, because they have to make money. They're a business. If they're cheap as chips, how are they going to sustain the right level of training for their staff? Because training is expensive. How are they going to maintain the right level of qualification, the right level of staffing numbers, the right level of experience? How are they going to maintain that if you're only paying them 5, 6 or 7%? It's just not sustainable as a business. And it means that somewhere else they are losing money, or they are not spending money or investing money. So think of it like this. You have a property. It's an asset and you want to take care of it. I'm not saying you have to use my letting agents, but whichever letting agents you use, do not go cheap. Avoid the cheapest. Anybody that's trying to sell to you on price and trying to portray themselves as cheap, they're going to be cheap. And also, if you go looking for cheap, then cheap is what you will get. If you go looking for valuable, then valuable is what you'll get. It's the same with anything. If you go looking for cheap car insurance, you'll get cheap car insurance. If you go for quality car insurance, you'll get quality car insurance. If you go around looking for properties, if you try and find a cheap property, you'll find a cheap property. If you want to find a good property, you'll find a good property. But don't focus on the price. The price is irrelevant. It's all about the people that agent employs, the experience they have, what the owner is like, what their beliefs and goals and missions are, what the staff qualifications and training is like. All of those things are much more important than shaving 1 or 2% off of that management fee. So go and find yourself a good letting agent. Don't go and find yourself a cheap letting agent. Find yourself a good letting agent. And if you're a letting agent and you're trying to tell the world that you're cheap, you are succeeding. Well done. Now, of course, I've got to end this by saying, use my letting agent. Of course, use my letting agent. If you're down on the South Coast, use my letting agents. I've got an entire team of letting agents that manage properties and tenancies and look after you as a landlord compliantly. And we're not trying to be the cheapest. We are not the cheapest. We're definitely not the most expensive. I think that's just the opposite end of a weird scale, but we are certainly trying to be the best. So if you want to use my lettings team, as always, I'll put a link somewhere below here or in the comments, or you can just comment, or you can message me or email me, tom@soanegroup.co.uk. I reply to all my emails and all my messages, and I hope to speak to you soon.